Good afternoon, everyone. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews, and I am your literary ambassador. And today I have a special guest on my channel. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Troy Barnes, and I recently became an author. I'm the author of the book Amazing Grace, My Journey into God's Unmerited Favor. And originally from Columbus, Ohio, now living in Southern California. And thank you, Miss Queenie, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Okay. What is your genre and what attracts you to that genre?
Basically, just faith-based, inspirational. Actually, my journey is what attracted me to it. I never thought I would write a book. I never thought I would, not seriously anyway. I never gave it much thought. But, as things were manifesting and transforming, in my life, and certain situations were happening, it just came. It was inspiration. It was in me, the best way I can describe it. But then the confirmation of that was people telling me, as things were happening, people were telling me, you should write a book, or you should write this down, or you should, they were planting seeds in me already to do it. So that's where it started. And then, once I remember I left the gym one day and I got the title Amazing Grace. And when I felt the title, was inspired by that title, that's when I sat down and started writing. I knew it was time.
Yes, yes. Now, what inspired you to write this book?
Just the journey overall that I was going through. So I had moved here to California. I lived in California 4 years, just over 4 years. Moved here from Columbus, Ohio, and it was a part of a job relocation. They were going to offer some remote assistance and some things to help me out until I got on my feet. It was really one of those things where I was already traveling for this company in Long Beach, a healthcare company in Long Beach, and they have health plans all across the country, including in Columbus. And I was working at the health plan in Columbus in IT as an IT asset manager because I was already traveling to California for them and had traveled for them frequently over the course of about a year and a half. They just came and offered me a position to move out here. And so, I felt it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. The key thing was I had a couple of people that told me, even after my very first trip out to California, because I'd never been out to California before that, I had a couple of people that told me, I feel like they're going to move you out there. I see them moving you out there. So that was and I always like the confirmation, I feel things in my spirit, and I feel things that, but I like to just wait on God and just wait on the confirmation. I don't like to get ahead of God. A lot of us do that. But I want to wait until I know it's right and the confirmation is there. And, but people were telling me, a couple people had told me they saw me moving to California. And so then, it took about a year from that, but it finally happened. They sent the offer. And then I accepted it. And 6 months after that is when I moved. And so, the journey that I was going on is where the inspiration came, because so right after I moved here, there was a shift change in leadership at the company with the CEO and CFO. Well, 4 months after that, actually 3 months after that, they started a huge layoff where they were laying off, dozens and dozens of people. In September of 2017, September 14th, 2017, which happens to be my birthday also, and I was off this day as well, I got a call that I was being let go. I was going to be a part of this, which was a total shock. I didn't see that coming. And I had just got a corporate apartment in Seal Beach. I hadn't got a car yet, but I was just, in the process of just trying to get on my feet. And when that happened, I was, as many people would be, in shock, stunned, because I felt like I was supposed to move here. And, as I'm walking with the Lord and, he's leading me and guiding me, it's like, I didn't see this coming. What does this mean? So I didn't know whether I was going to go home or what it was going to happen. But I remember the very first person that I talked to when I got off the phone with the company that had laid me off was my mom. And if for anyone, I know my mom, usually when an event happens, she usually is one to kind of freak out and, kind of, just
Mhm.
be all over the place before she calms down uh, and sees it rationally. But this day, she was as calm as can be this morning on my birthday. And she told me, she said, the way I see it, she said, God used that company as a bridge to get you out here, California, because he's got something for you.
Mhm.
And she said, you're going to be all right. I feel like I see it. You're going to be all right. Said it like 2 or 3 times. And for that to be her reaction, let me know that, okay, even it calmed me down a little bit. It settled me down a little bit, but also I was like, okay, there's something to this. And then my dad, who I talked to later on that evening, said the same thing. Well, kind of the same thing. He basically said, before you make any major decisions, pray.
Mhm.
And that's advice that he's never really given me. So I knew then it was like, okay, I got to start seeking God on this.
Yes.
Um, Shortly after that, because I was low on money, I was going to get a severance from the job because it was a layoff, but
Mhm.
that wasn't coming for 2 months. So that meant middle of
Oh.
November. So I was going to like, okay, I got to figure out what to do. Um, but what one day I was at the public library in Long Beach and I felt in my spirit look up rescue missions, shelters, homeless shelters.
Mhm.
And I found right away the Long Beach Rescue Mission. And so I went there, not not really wanting to go there because at first I was like,
Mhm.
why would I go there? But it was in me so strong, like you got to get there. So when I did, that first night, we're in dorms, so 10 beds in
Mhm.
a dorm and 10 guys because it's all men.
Mhm.
So I'm in bed that night and I hear just as clear as I'm talking to you right now inside my heart, my spirit, because I was talking to God, like, Lord, you got to
Mhm.
talk to me. You got to
Mhm.
tell me what's going on. You got to
Mhm.
tell me what to do. And he goes, I heard this just as clear. He said, Matthew 6:33, which is a scripture. It says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you.
Mhm.
Then I heard, you can go home if you want to, but if you stay, I'll take care of you, but you're going to have to trust me.
Yep.
And it was, I mean, he's like, I heard it 2 or 3 times. You're going to have to trust me. And I somehow got to sleep that night. I may have slept 2 hours. I don't even remember, but, um, but I woke up the next day and I ended up going to an outreach ministry called Beacon for Him,
Mhm.
serves the homeless in Long Beach, downtown Long Beach. And when I got there, that's when like the compassion of and love for people who were going through addictions and homelessness and who are less fortunate and dealing with situations, it overtook me. And I felt God saying, this is where I want you. This is where I'm placing you for a season, right now.
Mhm.
um, and so that was where, between staying at the mission for about 2 months and then working at Beacon for Him, that was what God wanted me to do. Now, all the while I'm doing this, He's taking care of me. I didn't see results right away,
Right.
but I saw it on His timing and not mine, you know,
Mhm.
because He
Mhm.
needed me where He had me for that time. Um, so I ended up getting a severance. My severance came 2 months later. My severance was actually more than what they told me it was going to be. Because when I read the paperwork, I saw one amount, but as I was getting the direct deposits, and they were basically closing out the payroll on that, it was more. And I was just like, it was like, wow, you really are, that was a blessing. And it came at a perfect time because I wanted to go home to Ohio for the holidays. It was Christmas time around that time. And so
Mhm.
I made plans and wanted to go home. And so I ended up going home for about 2 weeks, and it just helped out with everything at that time. Well, before I left, um, Shannon James, who's the president and founder of Beacon for Him Ministry, came to me and she was like, "When you come back, I want you to stay here at Beacon. I don't want you to go back to the mission. She's like, you can pray about it, but I really feel like you should be here.
Mhm.
And so I went home for Christmas, came back, started staying in Beacon, and that was my shelter. Um, and so I ended up just doing whatever they told me at the ministry, whatever she needed. I was there. I was on call. I was
Mhm.
whatever she needed, and whatever anybody needed, I was there for it. And I became content, even though I didn't understand everything that was going on. I became content and just helping other people. I was always focused on other people, and all the while, God's taking care of me. A few months after that, I ended up getting a text message from somebody that I used to work with at the healthcare place. And they said that they had heard of a job opening and I should look into it right away. And I was just sitting watching the Laker game, and it was on like a Tuesday night. And I said, okay. So got up that morning, looked right into it, called them. They already had my resume, already planning on calling me. 4 interviews later, I got a job, the company in Irvine, which is about 35 miles, 35 minutes away from Long Beach,
Mhm.
um, in IT asset management, which is my field. Um, so I was basically a contractor. I was contracted in, but that was going to be my job.
Mhm.
Um, so here's the even crazier part of that. So I get a job, I have shelter, but I don't have a car yet. So I was trying to work out ways to get to work,
Mhm.
and had even told them, I was going to work out a way to get to work, even though I was kind of, ways out. But so the day before I started work, I went to this restaurant in Long Beach, and I know the manager, and we're friends, and we became friends after I moved here. And we were just talking randomly and talking about my situation and everything. She knew everything. So she's always checking on me and asking about me. And we're sitting there, and I'm getting ready to eat. And she asked me, like, how are you getting to work? And so I told her I had some rides and had some things set up for that week and I'd be okay. Um, then she proceeds to say, well, why don't I just loan you my car for about a month until you get some money and you can maybe buy your own or whatever. And then she just flipped it and changed it right then. And she was like, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to give you my car.
Okay.
Yeah, just and I mean, literally, my food's coming out, and I'm just like, I almost can't even eat it because I'm just in complete shock again.
Mhm.
Like, but this time in a good way, because I'm
Mhm.
like, what? You're gonna do what? Because who does
Mhm.
that? But she was like, no, I'm gonna give you my car. So that was my transportation.
Mhm.
So I had my shelter, I had my car, I had a job. So all the while I'm working with the homeless, helping out other people, volunteering, not making any money for doing it, but I'm just, but God's working everything out for me while I'm focusing on others.
Mhm.
Um, so then, um, so while I had all that, so now I'm working, and I'm meeting people, things are happening, God's doing things on the side, where I'm running into people that I didn't expect to run into, and they're helping
Mhm.
me, and things are going on, and I'm making new friends, like tons of new friends. Uh, it seemed like I made them overnight because it happened so fast. Um, so then um, I ended up being in a situation where I needed to leave Beacon for him, the shelter basically,
Mhm.
and get closer to work because the drive is, California traffic, I mean,
Mhm.
30 minutes, what should be 30 minutes can take an hour, 2 hours in California traffic, Southern California especially. So I was looking to move. I was looking to move closer. Um, so I ended up. So there's a friend of mine who's also from Ohio. His name's Derek. He works at this company as well that I work at, and he and another guy who I had met previously were looking at houses, and they were looking to, basically move in together and get a house, but they wanted to get a third roommate to split up the rent because they
Mhm.
wanted it to be a fairly big house, a decent sized house. Um, so they were looking for a third roommate. They had one person, they had backed out. Well, at the same time I was looking, they were looking. So it was like, well, let's just all do this together.
Mhm.
So a few months after that, I end up moving in a 5 bedroom, 4 bath, 2 car garage house in Lake Forest, California. And actually, I'm there right now still. Um, so as you can see, the inspiration for this book and this story was, me going through what I was going through, but also God taking care of me, and me having faith in Him and His word that He would take care of
Mhm.
me, because that's the key. You have to have faith in what He said He was going to do, and He wants you to walk with Him. He wants you to seek Him. He wants us to be in relationship with Him. So the inspiration for the book, Amazing Grace, is unmerited favor. The Bible says in Ephesians 2:8 that we're saved by grace through faith, and it's a gift from God.
Mhm.
So we can't earn this. We walk in it by faith, and He wants us to believe that He is God and He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him. So I was just, all this was just in me. Where I was, just like, I have to write about this. I have to get this out because people need to know this. People need to, especially now. I mean,
Mhm.
with what's going on in the last 2 years, people need hope.
Mhm.
People need faith. They need their faith built. They need to know there's
Mhm.
hope. And, this book hopefully will, provide people that hope that, hey, He can do it for me. He can do it for you. He can do it for anybody. Because I never thought I was anybody special. I never thought I was anybody that anybody would want to hear from or talk to or talk about. I always kind of was in the background and, kind of the shy one, just kind of off to the side. But when God gives you a story, gives you an inspiration, He blesses you. He's requiring you to take that blessing, to take what He's blessed you with, and make a blessing out of you, or you go
Mhm.
bless someone else,
Mhm.
empower someone else. So, and I knew that, and so that was, the long way of me saying that was the inspiration for this book.
All right. What did you learn when writing this book?
I learned, man, I learned a lot. I learned what it means to walk in God's favor. I learned what it means to walk in His grace and walk in um, what His word says. I learned what it means to truly trust Him, because when I was in Ohio, I could say, yeah, I trust God, but I always had my friends, I had my family, I had myself. I could always rely on those things. But when you're out here, I'm out here in California, over 2,000 miles away, and I only know probably 2 or 3 people when I moved here, and you don't have nobody else, but God says to you, you can stay here or you can go home if you want to, but if you stay here, I'll take care of you, but you're going to have to
Mhm.
trust me. What He's doing is saying, he's like, will you trust me, basically?
Mhm.
And so, I learned that I could truly trust God for anything. That was probably the number one thing I learned. Um, also that I believe I have a gift that He's given me for people and a heart for people. Um, and that's the other reason I learned that, being with the ministry and Beacon for Him, but also in writing the book, learning that I could actually write a book.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
because like I said, I never seriously thought that I would do something like that. Um, so, but just to, summarize, yeah, probably those two things, that I could do it, and that I could truly, walk with God, and then help show others how to as well.
Okay. What do you think are the most important elements of good writing?
Um, I would say, one good element is to have a true story, an authentic story, something
Mhm.
that comes from your
Mhm.
heart. Especially nowadays, I think, just the way I look at it, people are looking for truth. They're looking for substance. Um, they're looking for something that's real. They're looking to see real people, hear about real people, because they may be going through things. And
Mhm.
so I think that's, I think that's one good element, as well as also making sure that once you have a story written, that you don't be afraid to bounce it off someone that you trust or someone who, can give you honest feedback. Because I had to do that, because even though people were telling me I had a story and I came around to believing I did and I was seeing things, I wanted to make sure that I was able to give it to someone who could critique it and give me honest feedback and say, yes, this is good, or no, this is not, or yes, you should do this, or no, honest, I wanted it to be real, and be honest about it. So, I would say those things for sure.
Okay. How was what was your publishing journey like?
That was interesting. Um, Working with Right Side Publishing and Felicia Colley, who's my sister-in-law,
Mm-hmm.
and my brother, Robert Colley. That was interesting. Just learning that. Um, they definitely made it easy for me. But just the back and forth along with the
Mm-hmm.
editor, Elizabeth Morris, the editor, just going through that process. Um, it was interesting. It was enlightening and it was interesting. And, just, it was kind of, it's kind of weird to talk about even because I was really, really, really busy at this time finishing the book and
Mm-hmm.
going through the publishing process because I was also busy, extremely busy on my job. Uh, so, to be doing that and then this at the same time, it was interesting. It was enlightening and I enjoyed it. I really did.
Okay. What has been the most difficult aspect of writing a book?
The beginning, starting, believing that you can.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
even when people were telling me, I was like, yeah, right. Like, how am I going to sit down and write a book? And who's going to want to hear what I have to say? But that's just getting out of your own way. That's just your mind talking like, yeah, your mind will tell you all kind of things, crazy things, but you just have to block that out and
Mm-hmm.
just be like, you know what, you know, it's stepping out. It's what, Martin Luther King has a comment or a quote that I've seen around the time of his holiday. I always see or quotes, faith is like taking the first step when you can't see the whole staircase.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think for me, it's like the beginning was the first part. Cause once I sat down, uh, and started writing, I couldn't stop. Like I spent hours literally just in front of the computer, just writing, typing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went back and looked at what I had done and I realized 3 hours had went by, so I was like, oh, it was gave me confidence, it's like, I
Mm-hmm.
can do this,
Mm-hmm.
so before that, it was just like, the mental block of, yeah, right. I'm not an author, but now, I see that I can do it.
Okay. What are you working on right now?
Um, well, I can honestly say there is a second book in the making. Things are still manifesting and kind of, coming out right now with that. I don't have a timeline with getting it done or anything. It's just still things are happening. So I'm the type of person, I'm gonna take my time and do it on God's time. I'm not gonna get ahead of God or rush. But I'm also doing book signings for this book. I'm enjoying the process of actually this book, Amazing Grace, that I'm doing. I've already done a couple of book signings here in Southern California. I plan to do one more with the help of a friend of mine in Long Beach. Um, I plan to do another one when I go home to Ohio um, sometime, if not before Christmas, by Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully. Um, I would have done one already, but with COVID and everything, and it's held a lot of things up, and I believe it's held a lot of my process up. But like I said, it's all in God's timing. Um, so I'm working on those two things right now. Is just book signings. Um, I've done a couple other interviews as well, and promotions for the book. And like I said, just already kind of getting things in play for a second one.
Okay. And where can we find you and your books?
You can find it on, well, as far as finding me, I'm on Facebook as Troy Barnes, Instagram as T Barnes 2432. I'm also on LinkedIn as Troy Barnes. My email address is tbarnes2432@gmail.com. If you want to contact me for anything, as pertaining to the book or promotions or anything,
Mhm.
yeah, that's where you can get a hold of me at, and I'll be happy to work with you. As well as just as far as the book goes, you can if you Google Troy Barnes Amazing Grace, it'll show everywhere the book is. So it's on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes and Noble, on Barnes and Noble online. You can get it at Target online, Walmart online, anywhere books are sold, public libraries as well. It's out there for everyone,
Okay.
and everyone has access to it. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at my email, and I'll be happy to answer you, or help you out.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add before we close?
If I could add anything, just be encouragement to anyone who may be going through. My situation was a homelessness situation, but this book could be, and it is, for anyone going through any situation. Mine was surrounding homelessness.
Mhm.
Anyone else could be coronavirus. Anyone else could be political. Anybody else could be, medical. You may be
Mhm.
going through some medical situation. You may be dealing with a bad marriage. You may be dealing with whatever it is. God's grace is there for all of it.
Right.
And you may not see God in your situation,
Mhm.
but if you will get in his word and meditate on it and speak it, I believe life and death is in the power of the tongue. And the Bible says that. And
Mhm.
you're snared by the words of your mouth. And I can tell you right now, I would not be where I am today if I didn't have the right words coming out of my mouth. If I didn't have his words coming out of my mouth, I had to take his words and make them my own, because I'm his child. And he promised me that he would supply all my needs according to his riches and glory through Christ. And this is all through Christ.
Mhm.
By receiving Christ, you receive an inheritance, uh, the inheritance of the blessing of Abraham is what it's called. And it's this grace, this unmerited, undeserved favor. And, I would encourage people to read the book. I quote scriptures in the book, just the things that helped me.
Mhm.
But there's so many more. And, now with Google, you can Google anything. But I would encourage people to just read the book, get the book. Even if you're not an avid reader, it's an easy read. I've talked to so many people who have read it within hours, within a day, overnight. I talked to people who started reading it at night before they went to bed, and they end up reading the whole thing and couldn't put it down. Um, just be encouraged and get the book, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Mhm. Mhm.
I believe it'll help anybody who is looking for a deeper relationship with Christ. And even if you're not going through anything, you should read it and get it anyway, because you never know what tomorrow may bring. Um, but I just would encourage people to seek Him first. You
Mhm.
know, seek Him first. Have faith in that His Word is the answer, or the answers for whatever you need are in His Word for you, whatever your situation is. Um, so I would just encourage you to get it, and I you know, just get it and be blessed. Be blessed
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
be grateful as well. I think we're in this time in a situation where um, we need to be thankful and grateful, even with everything else and all the craziness going on. There's a lot to be thankful for. There's a lot to be
Mhm.
grateful for. If we open our eyes, we should start with Thanksgiving, and just thanking Him for where we're at and what's going on and all that. And it may not be perfect, and we may not see God in what our situation, but if we walk by faith and not by sight in His Word, then we'll get to where we'll need to be, and He'll walk with us the whole way.
Amen. Well, thank you for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is an honor to be here. And I appreciate it and appreciate you as well.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, this is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews. Happy reading. Bye, y'all.